The 1960s weren't all classics. Some coupes were downright disasters. From poor performance to bizarre designs, these cars earned infamy, not admiration. Here are the top 13 crappiest cars of the 1960s. You won't believe they actually existed.
The Peugeot 404 Coupe, produced between 1962 and 1978, was a striking collaboration between French engineering and Italian design. With styling by Pininfarina, the same studio behind Ferrari and Alfa Romeo masterpieces, the 404 Coupe exuded elegance and sophistication. It was an effort by Peugeot to offer a luxury-oriented, two-door variant of its popular 404 sedan, targeting buyers who sought refinement and exclusivity in a mid-size package. However, despite its beauty and potential, the 404 Coupe struggled to gain traction in the market, hampered by a mix of high costs, limited performance, and tough competition. The 404 Coupe's exterior design was undoubtedly its strongest asset. Pininfarina gave the car a clean, understated profile with subtle Italian flair, departing from the more utilitarian look of the 404 sedan. It featured a low roofline, minimal chrome accents, and a sharp front fascia that gave it an air of sophistication without being ostentatious. The interior was similarly refined, with high-quality materials, comfortable seating, and an instrument layout that reflected Peugeot's reputation for attention to detail. For those who valued aesthetics, the 404 Coupe was a car that could hold its own in a crowd of more expensive luxury models. Unfortunately, this visual appeal didn't translate into a competitive driving experience. The 404 Coupe was powered by a range of engines over its production life, but the most common was a 1.6-liter inline-4, producing around 85 horsepower. While adequate for leisurely drives, this engine lacked the punch necessary to compete with rivals from Alfa Romeo or BMW, which offered more spirited performance in their coupes. Acceleration was modest and highway speeds required patience, leaving the 404 Coupe feeling sluggish and underpowered. Peugeot attempted to address this with a fuel-injected version, but even that only marginally improved the car's performance. Handling was competent but uninspiring. The 404 Coupe inherited much of its mechanical underpinnings from the 404 sedan, including its suspension setup, which prioritized comfort over agility. While this made the car pleasant to drive on long trips, it lacked the nimble, sporty feel that many coupe buyers desired. Competitors like the Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint offered a far more engaging experience behind the wheel, further highlighting the Peugeot's shortcomings. Another major drawback was the price. The 404 Coupe was significantly more expensive than the standard sedan, and its premium positioning put it in direct competition with cars that offered more power, better handling, or greater prestige. For many buyers, the elegant design wasn't enough to justify the steep cost, especially when Peugeot's brand image leaned more toward practicality than luxury. Reliability, a hallmark of Peugeot sedans, also took a hit in the coupe. While generally robust, the 404 Coupe suffered from issues with its early fuel injection systems, and its bodywork was susceptible to rust, a common issue for cars of the era. Maintenance costs were higher than for the sedan, further eroding its appeal to the budget-conscious buyers who typically chose Peugeots. Despite its flaws, the 404 Coupe did find a niche audience. Its smooth ride, refined cabin, and stylish appearance made it a favorite among those who valued comfort and aesthetics over outright performance. It also enjoyed some success as a status symbol in France and other European markets, where its Pininfarina design carried an air of exclusivity. Today, the Peugeot 404 Coupe is appreciated as a classic car with a unique blend of French and Italian influences. Restored examples often fetch high prices, especially those with the rare, fuel-injected engines. While it never achieved the success Peugeot had hoped for, the 404 Coupe remains a charming reminder of an era when design often took precedence over practicality in the automotive world. Its legacy endures as a testament to the beauty of collaboration between two nations, known for their artistry and engineering prowess. The first-generation Dodge Charger, produced from 1966 to 1967, was Dodge's ambitious attempt to carve out a unique niche in the rapidly growing muscle car market. Positioned as a sleek fastback coupe with a blend of sporty performance and upscale luxury, the Charger promised to deliver something new and exciting to American car buyers. However, despite its forward-thinking design and innovative features, this early iteration of the Charger struggled to live up to its potential and was ultimately overshadowed by competitors and its own successors. When Dodge unveiled the Charger in 1966, it made a bold visual statement. The car's design was unlike anything else on the road. Its fastback roofline, hidden headlights, and full-width taillight panel with the Charger script gave it an aerodynamic and futuristic appearance. Inside, Dodge aimed for a premium feel, with an interior featuring 4 individual bucket seats, a full-length center console, and an electroluminescent dashboard that was cutting-edge for the time. The Charger was clearly intended to stand apart, but this unique design also alienated some buyers. The fastback styling was polarizing. While some admired its sleekness, others found it awkward and lacking the aggressive stance that defined other muscle cars of the era. Underneath the eye-catching exterior, the Charger shared its underpinnings with the Dodge Coronet, a mid-size car from Dodge's lineup. Buyers had several engine options, starting with the entry-level 225 cubic inch slant-6 engine, which offered little more than adequate commuting power. For those seeking performance, Dodge offered a range of V8 engines, including the 318 cubic inch, 383 cubic inch, and the powerful 426 HEMI V8, the latter delivering blistering straight-line performance. The 440 Magnum V8 also became available, bridging the gap between the mid-range engines and the top-tier Hemi. Despite these engine options, the car's performance was hindered by its significant weight. At over 4,000 pounds, the Charger was more of a heavyweight cruiser than a nimble muscle car, struggling to keep up with lighter and more focused competitors like the Pontiac GTO or Ford Mustang. One of the Charger's biggest challenges was its lack of a clear identity. Dodge tried to market it as a sports sedan, but this vague categorization left potential buyers confused. Was the Charger a luxury grand tour, a sporty fastback, or a full-fledged muscle car? The marketing failed to provide a definitive answer, and the car ended up appealing to none of these audiences in a compelling way. For muscle car enthusiasts, the Charger didn't deliver the raw aggression or sharp performance they sought. For those in the market for a luxury coupe, it lacked the refinement and prestige of competitors like the Pontiac Grand Prix. Practicality issues further hampered the Charger's appeal. The fastback roofline, while visually striking, significantly compromised rear seat headroom and trunk usability. Dodge tried to address this by including fold-down rear seats to expand cargo space, but this feature didn't fully make up for the design's inherent limitations. Additionally, the Charger suffered from quality control issues typical of Chrysler products at the time, including inconsistent build quality, reliability problems, and susceptibility to rust. Buyers expecting a polished product often found themselves disappointed. Sales figures reflected the Charger's struggles to find its footing in a competitive market. In 1966, Dodge sold just over 37,000 units, and in 1967, sales climbed slightly to around 15,000 more units. While these numbers weren't disastrous, they fell short of Dodge's expectations, especially compared to the runaway success of other muscle cars and sporty coupes of the era. Despite its shortcomings, the first-generation Charger was not without merit. It introduced several features and design elements that would become hallmarks of the Charger nameplate. The hidden headlights in particular were a standout feature that contributed to the car's unique identity and would remain a signature element in future iterations. The interior's focus on driver-oriented luxury also hinted at the potential for Dodge to blend performance with comfort in a way few other automakers were attempting at the time. The first-generation Charger's legacy lies not in its commercial success, but in its role as a stepping stone for Dodge's later triumphs. By 1968, the Charger underwent a complete redesign, adopting a more muscular and aggressive appearance that resonated with buyers and made it an icon of the muscle car era. The lessons learned from the 1966 to 1967 Charger played a crucial role in shaping this transformation. Today, the first-generation Charger is often viewed as a collector's item with historical significance. While it may not have achieved greatness in its own time, the Opel Kadett Coupe, produced from 1962 to 1973, was part of Opel's push to provide affordable and accessible cars to the burgeoning post-war middle class. Designed as a compact, budget-friendly coupe, it was meant to be practical, economical, and stylish. However, while it initially succeeded in gaining popularity with cost-conscious buyers, the Kadett Coupe eventually revealed significant flaws that tarnished its reputation and exposed the compromises made in its design and construction. From a design perspective, the Kadett Coupe was a simplified version of the Kadett lineup, offering a sleeker silhouette than the standard sedan or wagon variants. Its compact dimensions and lightweight were key selling points, appealing to those looking for an inexpensive car that was easy to maneuver in urban environments. The coupe's styling was unassuming, with clean lines and a conservative aesthetic that lacked the flair of competitors such as the Volkswagen Carmen, Ghia, or Fiat 850 Coupe. While the Kadett Coupe didn't aim to turn heads, its plainness made it feel more utilitarian than aspirational. Mechanically, the Kadett Coupe's engine offerings were modest at best. The most common options included small displacement inline-4 engines ranging from 1.0 to 1.2 liters, producing between 40 and 60 horsepower. While this was adequate for basic transportation, it left the car underpowered, particularly when compared to rivals that offered sportier performance. Acceleration was sluggish, highway driving required patience, and steep inclines often pushed the engine to its limits. For drivers seeking any semblance of excitement, the Kadett Coupe was a disappointment. The Kadett Coupe's budget-friendly price came at a cost, most notably in its build quality. Opel aimed to keep production costs low, which led to the use of inexpensive materials and simplified manufacturing processes. As a result, the car's fit and finish were subpar, with rattling panels, squeaky interiors, and a generally flimsy feel. This lack of refinement was glaring when placed alongside competitors that managed to balance affordability with better craftsmanship. One of the Kadett Coupe's most infamous weaknesses was its vulnerability to rust. Like many cars of its era, it was built without modern corrosion-resistant treatments, and the problem was exacerbated by cost-cutting measures that reduced the quality of the steel used in its construction. In climates with harsh winters or salty air, rust would quickly attack the body, often rendering the car structurally unsound after just a few years. This issue not only affected the car's longevity, but also its resale value, as buyers became wary of investing in a car with such well-known durability problems. On the road, the Kadett Coupe's driving experience was best described as uninspiring. Its suspension setup, while adequate for smooth city streets, struggled to provide comfort or composure on rougher roads. The car's lightweight and simple chassis design led to a bouncy and sometimes unpredictable ride, and the lack of advanced engineering meant it couldn't compete with the handling dynamics of more sophisticated rivals. Drivers looking for sharp cornering or a connected feel were left wanting. Despite its flaws, the Kadett Coupe did have its moments of success. It was affordable, fuel-efficient, and easy to repair, which made it a practical choice for families on a tight budget or young drivers purchasing their first car. Its simple mechanics and widespread availability of parts meant that maintenance was straightforward, and Opel's extensive dealer network in Europe made it easy to find support. For many buyers, the Kadett Coupe was a stepping stone, a car that served its purpose until something better could be afforded. Over time, however, the Kadett Coupe's shortcomings became more apparent. As the 1960s gave way to the 1970s, consumer expectations began to rise, with buyers demanding more from even the most economical vehicles. Competitors such as the Ford Escort, Renault 12, and Fiat 128 offered better performance, reliability, and refinement while maintaining affordability. The Kadett Coupe's inability to keep pace with these advancements left it feeling outdated and uncompetitive. Today, the Opel Kadett Coupe is remembered more for its role in making car ownership accessible to post-war Europeans than for its merits as an automobile. While it holds some nostalgic charm for those who grew up with one in the family, it is rarely celebrated as a classic. Instead, it serves as a reminder of the compromises often required in the pursuit of affordability and the challenges of balancing cost, quality, and performance in the automotive world. The Triumph GT6 Mark I, produced from 1966 to 1968, was envisioned as a sleek and sporty coupe version of the Triumph Spitfire. Dubbed the poor man's E-Type due to its similar long hood, fastback design, the GT6 aimed to deliver affordable performance wrapped in elegant styling. However, while it looked the part of a stylish British sports car, the GT6 Mark I was plagued by a range of issues that hampered its success and tarnished its reputation among enthusiasts. At first glance, the GT6 seemed promising. Triumph took the open-top Spitfire chassis and added a fixed roof and a more powerful six-cylinder engine, borrowed from the larger Triumph Vitesse. The result was a car that was lighter and smaller than most six-cylinder sports cars of the era, giving it a unique niche in the market. Its 2.0-liter engine produced 95 horsepower, significantly more than the Spitfire's four-cylinder, offering spirited performance for the price. The GT6 could achieve a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of just over 12 seconds, which was respectable for its class. However, the car's dynamics quickly revealed significant flaws. The GT6 Mark I inherited the Spitfire's swing-axle rear suspension, a design that was already outdated and problematic even for the smaller, less powerful Spitfire. With the added weight of the larger engine up front, the GT6 became notoriously prone to oversteer. On uneven or wet roads, the swing-axle suspension could cause the rear wheels to tuck under during cornering, leading to sudden and unpredictable handling. This instability earned the car a reputation for being challenging, if not outright dangerous, to drive aggressively. The suspension issues were compounded by a lack of refinement in other areas of the driving experience. The steering was vague, and the brakes, while adequate for leisurely driving, felt overwhelmed when pushed hard. The chassis, which had not been significantly upgraded to handle the added power and weight, felt strained, and the car lacked the nimble, composed feel that sports car buyers expected. Inside, the GT6 Mark I's cabin was a mixed bag. On the positive side, it featured a smart, driver-focused dashboard with wood accents and sporty instrumentation. But space was at a premium, with cramped seating and a lack of headroom due to the sloping roofline. Taller drivers found the driving position uncomfortable, and the fixed roof eliminated the open-air appeal that was a major selling point of the Spitfire. Additionally, the rear hatch and storage space were modest, limiting the car's practicality as a touring coupe. Reliability was another Achilles heel of the GT6 Mark I. The engine, while powerful, was prone to overheating, particularly in stop-and-go traffic. The car's electrical system, like many British cars of the era, was often a source of frustration, with frequent failures in components such as lights in the ignition system. Build quality was inconsistent, and rust was a persistent issue, especially in the UK's damp climate. From a marketing standpoint, the GT6 also struggled to find a clear identity. Positioned as a more refined and powerful alternative to the Spitfire, it was priced closer to the MGB GT, a car that offered similar performance but with more polish and fewer handling quirks. Buyers who sought outright performance often opted for more expensive but better-sorted sports cars like the Triumph TR4 or even imported models such as the Porsche 912. As a result, the GT6 Mark I was left in an awkward middle ground, neither affordable enough to appeal to Spitfire buyers nor capable enough to lure enthusiasts away from rivals. Despite its flaws, the GT6 Mark I wasn't without its charm. Its compact dimensions and clean, fastback styling gave it a distinctive presence, and its smooth six-cylinder engine provided a satisfying soundtrack. For those willing to tolerate its handling and reliability quirks, the GT6 offered an engaging driving experience at a relatively affordable price. However, these positives weren't enough to offset its shortcomings in the highly competitive sports car market of the 1960s. In response to criticism, Triumph made significant improvements to the suspension and overall handling in the GT6 Mark II and later models, addressing many of the Mark I's most glaring issues. As a result, the MK1 is often regarded as a transitional model, a car that showed potential but ultimately fell short of delivering on its promise. Today, the GT6 Mark I is appreciated by a niche group of enthusiasts for its classic styling and historical significance, But its flaws remain a reminder of the challenges Triumph faced in balancing performance, price, and practicality. The first-generation Plymouth Barracuda, 1964 to 1966, holds a unique place in American automotive history as one of the pioneers of the pony car segment. Introduced just 2 weeks before the Ford Mustang, it had the potential to lead the charge in this new market of sporty, affordable, youth-oriented cars. Unfortunately, despite its historical significance, the early Barracuda fell short of expectations and was quickly overshadowed by its more charismatic rivals. At its core, the Barracuda was essentially a heavily modified Plymouth Valiant. Chrysler engineers gave the Valiant a fastback roofline, a wraparound rear window, the largest piece of glass ever used on a production car at the time, and some sporty design touches to transform it into the Barracuda. However, this approach, while cost-effective, left the car feeling like a compromise. Its styling, while distinctive, lacked the bold, aggressive flair that made the Mustang an instant icon. The Barracuda's front end, with its plain grille and Valiant-derived headlights, looked more utilitarian than sporty, and its overall design failed to ignite the excitement buyers were looking for in a pony car. Under the hood, the first-generation Barracuda offered a range of engines, starting with an anemic 170 cubic inches slant 6 that produced just 101 horsepower. While buyers could opt for more powerful engines, such as the 225 slant 6 or the 273 cubic inch V8, even the top-of-the-line Commando V8 with 235 horsepower couldn't match the Mustang's range of muscular performance options. This lack of outright performance hindered the Barracuda's ability to establish itself as a serious contender in the emerging pony car market. The Barracuda's handling and driving dynamics also left much to be desired. Built on the Valiant's economy car platform, it suffered from soft suspension tuning and an uninspiring chassis. While it was comfortable for daily driving, it didn't deliver the kind of sporty, engaging experience that pony car buyers expected. The steering was vague, and the car's overall feel was more akin to a compact commuter vehicle than a performance-oriented machine. Inside, the Barracuda shared much of its interior with the Valiant, further reinforcing the impression that it was a dressed-up economy car. While the large rear glass provided excellent visibility, it also turned the cabin into a greenhouse, making it uncomfortably hot on sunny days. Rear seat passengers faced limited headroom due to the sloping fastback design, and the overall interior quality was unremarkable. Another issue that plagued the early Barracuda was its marketing and positioning. Plymouth, lacking the swagger of Ford or the youthful image of Chevrolet, struggled to connect with the younger demographic that pony cars were targeting. While Ford brilliantly marketed the Mustang as a lifestyle vehicle, the Barracuda's advertisements and branding felt staid and uninspired. The car was sold as part of the Plymouth lineup rather than as a standalone model, which diluted its identity and appeal. By the time the Mustang took the market by storm, the Barracuda was already playing catch-up. It was never able to shake its reputation as a derivative product, and its sales numbers reflected this struggle. Despite Plymouth's attempts to improve the Barracuda with minor updates and more powerful engine options, it remained in the shadow of its Ford rival and later competitors like the Chevrolet Camaro and Pontiac Firebird. That said, the Barracuda wasn't without its merits. Its fastback design, though polarizing, was innovative and offered practical benefits like a spacious trunk. It also laid the groundwork for the second-generation Barracuda, which would emerge in 1967 as a more distinctive and competitive pony car, with a completely redesigned platform. Today, the first-generation Barracuda is appreciated by collectors and enthusiasts for its historical significance as one of the first pony cars. However, its shortcomings in performance, styling, and identity ensure that it remains more of a footnote in the pony car story rather than a leading chapter. The Hillman Minx Coupe, 1961 to 1963, was an ambitious attempt by the British automaker Rootes Group to provide an affordable two-door coupe for the budget-conscious car buyer. Despite its appealing concept, it failed to meet expectations in nearly every aspect, rendering it one of the more forgettable entries in the British automotive landscape of the 1960s. At the heart of the Minx Coupe's issues was its fundamental lack of refinement and performance. While it may have looked the part on paper as a stylish, affordable coupe, The execution left much to be desired. Built on the same platform as the standard Minx saloon, the Minx Coupe offered little in terms of a unique driving experience. The rear-wheel drive layout, often seen as a hallmark of sportier designs, felt limp and underwhelming in this case, especially considering the car's lack of power and agility. Styling was where the Hillman Minx Coupe tried to differentiate itself, but even in this area, it struggled to make a lasting impact. With a sloped roofline and two-door configuration, it somewhat resembled its competitors in the entry-level coupe market, but the overall design lacked the polish and charisma seen in rival vehicles, like the Triumph Herald Coupe or the more agile Ford Anglia 105e. The Minx Coupe's exterior, with its boxy lines and unspectacular detailing, failed to inspire the same sense of sportiness or adventure that its competitors managed to evoke. While it had some appealing elements, such as its chrome grille and large front windows, it never quite captured the imagination of buyers who were looking for something with a little more style and flair. Performance, however, was where the Hillman Minx Coupe truly faltered. Powered by a small 1.5-liter inline-4 engine producing a modest 53 horsepower, the coupe lacked the necessary performance to live up to its two-door designation. Its acceleration was sluggish, and the car's top speed barely reached 80 miles per hour, which placed it firmly in the realm of commuter-friendly economy vehicles, rather than anything resembling a performance-oriented coupe. When compared to the more spirited, faster alternatives in the market, cars like the MGB, which delivered a considerably better driving experience, it became evident just how out of touch the Minx Coupe was with the growing demand for performance and excitement in the 1960s car market. Even the handling was disappointing. The Minx Coupe's rear-wheel drive suspension, while common for cars in this category, was uninspiring. The car's handling was compromised by excessive body roll, poor road feedback, and vague steering that made it difficult for drivers to feel confident behind the wheel. This was compounded by a lack of precision when cornering, making it a poor choice for those seeking a vehicle with a more engaging driving experience. It lacked the nimbleness and agility that buyers expected from a coupe, and its steering felt disconnected and heavy, making even simple maneuvers feel more effortful than necessary. Inside, the Minx Coupe offered a no-frills cabin. The seats were basic, offering minimal comfort on long trips, and the materials used throughout were cheap, which was to be expected from a car in this price range. But this also meant that there were issues with durability and comfort. The dashboard was utilitarian, with basic instruments and switches that felt outdated even by early 1960s standards. The rear seats were cramped, a common issue with coupes of the era, but the limited legroom and headroom only made the interior feel more oppressive. Build quality was another significant drawback. Roots Group, in its bid to keep costs down, didn't focus enough on ensuring long-term durability. As a result, the Minx Coupe suffered from rust issues and mechanical failures, something not unusual for cars in this segment, but more pronounced in this model. The fit and finish were poor, and many owners reported problems with the vehicle's electrics, steering, and suspension. The quality of materials used in the construction also led to premature wear, adding to the car's list of shortcomings. Though marketed as an affordable and stylish alternative to the more expensive two-door vehicles of the time, the Minx Coupe's lack of substance meant it couldn't compete with rivals that offered more power, better styling, and stronger reliability. The lack of refinement, poor performance, and consistent mechanical issues made it a hard sell, even for the budget-conscious. Sales were disappointing, and its production run was cut short after only 2 years. It became apparent that the Hillman Minx Coupe's appeal was limited, and it failed to resonate with a broader audience. For all its faults, the Hillman Minx Coupe was a car that never quite found its place in the market. It was neither sporty enough to excite driving enthusiasts, nor practical enough to appeal to everyday drivers. The Studebaker Avanti, 1962 to 1963, was one of the most ambitious and forward-thinking vehicles of its era, intended to establish Studebaker as a leader in the luxury sports coupe market. It was a bold attempt to break free from the traditional designs of the 1950s and create something fresh and modern. The Avanti was designed by Raymond Loewy one of the most famous industrial designers of the 20th century, known for his work with brands like Coca-Cola and NASA. His vision for the Avanti was nothing short of revolutionary, an aerodynamically efficient fiberglass-bodied car with a supercharged V8 engine, advanced safety features, and sleek styling that made it look like it came from the future. One of the most notable features of the Avanti was its fiberglass body, a material that was still relatively new in automotive production at the time. The use of fiberglass allowed the car to be lighter than traditional steel-bodied cars, giving it a performance edge while also reducing manufacturing costs. The car's aerodynamic design included a low, fastback roofline and curvaceous body that made it stand out from the more conservative designs of its contemporaries, particularly the Chevrolet Corvette. With a 4.7-liter supercharged engine producing 240 horsepower, the Avanti had the power to compete with other performance cars, reaching speeds of up to 150 miles per hour, remarkably fast for its time. Despite these impressive features, the Avanti's journey from concept to reality was riddled with difficulties. The car's radical styling, while futuristic, was divisive. Its smooth-flowing curves and aggressive front end were groundbreaking but polarizing, with some buyers finding it beautiful and others dismissing it as too strange. The car's design, which had been hailed as the future of automotive aesthetics, ultimately turned off many traditional car buyers, particularly those who were loyal to more established American brands with more conventional looks. Moreover, production issues plagued the Avanti from the very beginning. Studebaker, already struggling financially in the early 1960s, was not in a position to manage such an ambitious project. The rushed production process, combined with the challenges of working with fiberglass and the need to meet deadlines, led to serious quality control problems. Many early models suffered from inconsistent build quality, including poorly fitted panels and structural issues that tarnished the car's reputation. The limited production numbers, with fewer than 1,200 cars produced, meant that quality was hard to maintain, and these production shortcomings made the Avanti a difficult car to sell. Adding to the challenge was the Avanti's steep price. Positioned as a luxury sports coupe, the Avanti was priced higher than many of its competitors, including the Chevrolet Corvette. For Studebaker, a company already facing financial difficulties, this high price point made the car a hard sell. Most of the potential buyers for such a car were loyal to more established brands, and the Avanti's relative obscurity and high cost made it unappealing to a wide audience. At the same time, Studebaker was struggling with its own financial crisis. The company was nearing the end of its life, and with the Avanti being such a large investment for a company on the brink of collapse, it was difficult for the car to find success. By 1963, just over a year after production began, Studebaker stopped manufacturing the Avanti, marking the end of one of the most ambitious American automotive ventures of the 1960s. However, despite its commercial failure, the Avanti left a lasting legacy in automotive history. The car's innovative use of fiberglass, its bold design, and its high performance made it a standout, even if it didn't resonate with the masses. In the years that followed, the Avanti became a collector's item, with enthusiasts and vintage car lovers appreciating its unique blend of futuristic design and American engineering. Studebaker's brief flirtation with the luxury sports coupe market also inspired a revival of the Avanti nameplate in later decades, proving that, while the original car may have been ahead of its time, it was still appreciated by those who valued innovation and style. The Studebaker Avanti is now remembered not just as a failure, but as a symbol of what could have been if Studebaker had been able to overcome its financial troubles. Its legacy as one of the most unique and daring cars of the 1960s is cemented, and its rarity today only adds to its mystique. The Avanti remains a testament to bold design, and while it may have failed commercially, it continues to inspire car enthusiasts and collectors to this day. The Sunbeam Rapier, produced between 1955 and 1976, was a two-door coupe designed to appeal to young, budget-conscious drivers seeking a stylish yet affordable car. Developed by the Roots Group, the Rapier was initially marketed as a more sporty and attractive alternative to the practical, family-oriented sedans of the time. With its sleek exterior, the Rapier captured the attention of drivers looking for a stylish car with a bit of flair. However, while its appearance suggested performance and excitement, the car struggled to live up to those expectations. In the early years of production, the Rapier was equipped with a 1.5-liter engine, which, while decent for the time, lacked the power and performance needed to truly excite driving enthusiasts. The engine's output was modest at best, delivering just enough power for basic driving, but not nearly enough for the spirited performance that young buyers were starting to crave in the mid-1960s. The lack of power became a significant issue as competitors in the compact coupe market, like the Ford Cortina or the Triumph Herald, began offering more powerful dynamic engines that provided a much more engaging driving experience. The handling of the Rapier also left much to be desired. Despite its sporty appearance, the car's suspension system was not tuned for sharp, precise handling. The steering was vague and the suspension struggled to cope with uneven road surfaces and aggressive cornering. While it could be described as a comfortable cruiser, the Rapier did not deliver the agile, responsive handling expected from a sporty coupe. This made the car less fun to drive compared to its competitors, who provided more direct feedback and superior road-holding abilities. By the time the mid-1960s arrived, the automotive world had begun to evolve rapidly. The Sunbeam Rapier, with its relatively simple suspension and underwhelming engine, struggled to keep up. Newer models from other manufacturers, such as the Ford Cortina or the Triumph Spitfire, offered better handling, more refined styling, and more robust powertrains. The competition had begun to offer more modern features, like improved suspension systems and more efficient, higher-performance engines that quickly made the Rapier feel outdated. The Sunbeam Rapier, despite being a solid, reliable car, was increasingly seen as unremarkable when placed alongside these more exciting, well-rounded offerings. The car's interior, while offering a reasonable amount of comfort, also failed to stand out. The cabin was relatively plain and didn't offer the type of luxury or innovative design features that some of its more competitive peers were beginning to introduce. Sunbeam had clearly intended the Rapier to be a fashionable option for younger buyers, but it quickly became clear that its lack of performance and dull interior kept it from fulfilling that ambition. The car did not evolve in the way that other sporty cars of the era did, and as the decade wore on, its reputation began to suffer. Another issue that contributed to the Rapier's decline was its poor durability, especially in terms of rust. Like many British cars of the era, the Sunbeam Rapier was prone to rusting, particularly around the wheel arches and sills. As a result, many examples of the Rapier were plagued by corrosion, making it a car that required a significant amount of upkeep to maintain. This issue was especially noticeable in damp climates, where rust could take hold much more rapidly, further diminishing the car's appeal. While the Rapier's stylish bodywork was a draw, the growing number of rusted-out Rapiers on the market meant that buyers were becoming increasingly wary of the long-term reliability of the car. The Sunbeam Rapier was also competing in a time when the tastes of car buyers were shifting. As the 1960s progressed, drivers began demanding more than just a good-looking car. They sought cars that were fun to drive, offered more power, and provided a sense of modernity. The Sunbeam Rapier, while still stylish, was no longer competitive with cars that delivered better performance, sharper handling, and more advanced features. Despite its appeal to a certain demographic, it was no longer considered the cool car it once was. By the early 1970s, the once popular Rapier was largely forgotten, replaced by newer, more capable vehicles that could offer the performance and excitement that buyers were seeking. Roots Group made efforts to update the Rapier during its production run, but the car was unable to shake off the shortcomings that had plagued it since its introduction. Despite some cosmetic improvements and the addition of more powerful engines in later years, the Rapier never managed to secure a place as a serious contender in the sporty coupe market. The car's performance and handling remained relatively unchanged, and its reputation as a reliable but underwhelming vehicle grew over time. The Renault Caravel Coupe, produced from 1958 to 1968, was a car that seemed to promise a lot, but ultimately failed to meet the expectations of those looking for a true sports coupe experience. Positioned as a stylish, affordable option for those desiring European elegance with a sporty edge, the Caravel was designed to rival more well-known marques, such as the Alfa Romeo Giulietta and the Triumph Spitfire, offering French flair at a price that appealed to a broader audience. The Caravel's exterior was undeniably attractive. Its sleek, streamlined design was sophisticated and compact, with a curvaceous body that exuded a sense of timeless elegance. The car was a visual standout, with rounded contours and a low-slung profile that made it perfect for a sunny Mediterranean drive, the kind of car you'd imagine cruising along the French Riviera. The soft-top convertible version added an air of open-road freedom, promising a driving experience that seemed ideal for those wanting to embrace the European roadster lifestyle. However, beneath the well-curated design, the Caravel struggled to live up to its promise. One of the biggest drawbacks was its engine. The original 1.1-liter engine produced just 44 horsepower, which, in the world of European sports cars, was woefully underpowered. While this may have sufficed for leisurely, relaxed driving in the city or on quiet country roads, it was nowhere near adequate for those seeking a spirited driving experience. The acceleration was sluggish, and the car's performance lagged behind its competitors, making it less exciting to drive, especially on open highways where more powerful engines could really show their worth. Drivers looking for the thrills of a true sports car were left disappointed, as the Caravel simply didn't deliver the excitement expected from its design. Its lack of power was matched by an underwhelming driving experience. The handling was far from the sharp, agile performance that could make a car of this type feel like an extension of the driver. The Caravel's suspension was tuned for comfort, meaning it leaned more toward a cruiser than a car capable of sharp cornering or agile maneuvering. While it offered a smooth ride for casual trips around town, it lacked the responsiveness and road-holding ability that more serious sports cars of the era were known for. When navigating twisty roads or attempting to push the car through corners, the lack of precision in the steering and suspension became apparent, leaving the driver feeling disconnected from the road. Compounding its lackluster performance was the Caravel's reliability issues. The car's engine, although modest in power, was prone to overheating, and the overall build quality was often questioned. Mechanical problems were frequent, from oil leaks to electrical issues, which added to the cost and frustration of ownership. Many owners found themselves making frequent trips to the mechanic, which led to increased maintenance costs. This was a car that didn't just lack the performance expected of it, it also failed to provide the reliability that buyers of affordable European cars were hoping for. On top of its performance and reliability woes, the Caravel was often criticized for its lack of refinement. While it was priced lower than many of its competitors, it did not offer the same quality of craftsmanship or the luxurious feel that one might expect from a European sports car. The interior was relatively basic, and the materials used for the upholstery and trim didn't exude the quality of more expensive models. The cabin, while functional, lacked the attention to detail found in higher-end European cars, leaving it feeling utilitarian and uninspiring. While the Renault Caravel may have appealed to some buyers due to its attractive styling and its positioning as a more affordable alternative to pricier sports cars, its shortcomings in performance, reliability, and refinement made it difficult to compete in a crowded market. As the 1960s progressed, other more capable cars began to overshadow the Caravel, and it became clear that the car was no longer able to meet the expectations of its target audience. Sales dwindled, and the Caravel was eventually discontinued in 1968 after a decade of mixed success. In retrospect, the Renault Caravel represents a classic example of a car that was caught in the gap between style and substance. It looked the part of a chic European coupe, but didn't quite have the power or the handling to back it up. While the Caravel remains a charming and nostalgic example of French automotive design, it never became the iconic sports coupe it aspired to be. Instead, it stands as a reminder of how difficult it can be to balance beauty with performance, and how a car's design can only take it so far without the backing of strong engineering and reliability. The Fiat 850 Coupe, produced from 1965 to 1971, was part of Fiat's strategy to expand its model range and offer a sporty, compact car that could appeal to young drivers or those seeking a more affordable alternative to larger, more expensive sports cars of the time. At first glance, the 850 Coupe had all the right elements of a stylish, sporty coupe: compact proportions, sleek lines, and an appealing European design, but it ultimately fell short in key areas that hindered its appeal and performance. Visually, the Fiat 850 Coupe was undeniably charming. The car featured a low, aggressive stance with its compact body and rounded flowing lines that emphasized its sporty intent. Its small size and rear-engine layout gave it a distinctive profile that seemed perfect for zipping around city streets or enjoying weekend drives in the countryside. The coupe had an aura of youthful excitement, capturing the essence of the era's desire for fun, stylish cars at an affordable price. Its design had elements of sophistication, especially when viewed in comparison to other cars in its class, and it embodied the kind of simplicity and elegance that was popular in the 1960s. However, beneath this attractive exterior, the Fiat 850 Coupe struggled to deliver the kind of performance one might expect from a car with such sporty styling. Powered by a small 843 cubic centimeter four-cylinder engine, the car produced just 47 horsepower. This was a far cry from the performance expected of a coupe in the same class, and it quickly became clear that the 850 Coupe's engine was underpowered for its size. While this engine was capable of providing enough power for everyday city driving, it simply didn't offer the acceleration or top-end speed that a true sports car demands. It struggled to climb hills, was sluggish on highways, and lacked the zest that drivers sought in a vehicle that was supposed to be fun to drive. The car's acceleration, or lack thereof, left much to be desired, and it often felt more like a small city commuter than a dynamic, spirited sports coupe. The lack of performance was compounded by persistent reliability issues, especially with the engine and cooling system. The small air-cooled engine used in the 850 Coupe had a tendency to overheat, especially in warmer weather or during extended driving sessions. This problem was not just an inconvenience, but a serious flaw, as overheating could lead to engine damage and significant repair costs. For a car marketed as being affordable and easy to maintain, these issues were particularly frustrating for owners, many of whom found themselves dealing with regular trips to the mechanic to fix recurring engine problems. Overheating was a problem that diminished the 850 Coupe's reliability and its appeal as an everyday driver. Another critical issue was the car's tendency to rust, a common problem for Fiat vehicles of this era. The 850 Coupe was made from low-quality materials, and its body was prone to corrosion, especially in the undercarriage and wheel arches. For a car that wasn't particularly built to last, rust became a major concern for many owners, particularly those living in climates with high humidity or harsh winters. The rust problems, combined with the engine issues, gave the Fiat 850 Coupe a reputation for being a car that required constant maintenance, which discouraged potential buyers looking for a low-maintenance, reliable vehicle. While the 850 Coupe's design made it seem like a spacious and comfortable vehicle, the reality was quite different. Its small size and compact nature, while beneficial for maneuvering in tight urban environments, led to a cramped and uncomfortable interior. Taller drivers found the cockpit tight, and the seating was not especially comfortable for long drives. The rear seats were barely usable, making the 850 Coupe a two-seater in all but name. The interior was designed with minimalism in mind, but this translated into cheap materials and a lack of refinement. The dashboard and controls were functional, but the overall experience felt more utilitarian than luxurious or even sporty. In terms of handling, the Fiat 850 Coupe's rear-engine layout was intended to offer some excitement behind the wheel. However, it suffered from significant handling issues due to its outdated suspension system. The car's rear-engine design, while offering some advantages in terms of weight distribution, created a tendency for the car to be unstable at higher speeds or during aggressive cornering. The lack of precise steering and overall poor suspension setup made the 850 Coupe less engaging to drive than its competitors, and it failed to inspire the kind of confidence that sports car enthusiasts typically expect. Despite these shortcomings, the Fiat 850 Coupe was still considered a car that offered great potential for those who could overlook its faults. The fifth-generation Ford Thunderbird, produced from 1967 to 1971, marked a significant shift in the model's identity. Originally conceived in the mid-1950s as a sporty and compact two-seater, The Thunderbird had evolved over the years into a larger, more luxurious vehicle aimed at the personal luxury market. By the time the fifth generation arrived, the car had become more about size and comfort than performance and sportiness, which ultimately led to its decline in popularity and reputation. Visually, the Thunderbird's fifth generation was an imposing presence on the road. It was larger, heavier, and more flamboyant, featuring long, sweeping lines and a massive front grille. The car's styling was a clear indication of the shift in focus from the sleek, sporty appearance of the earlier models to a more luxurious, plush look aimed at attracting high-end buyers. However, this design change came with a significant trade-off. The Thunderbird's once dynamic and agile nature was lost. The car's larger size and exaggerated proportions gave it a bloated look, and it no longer possessed the elegance or sporty appeal that made the Thunderbird an icon in the 1950s and 1960s. Performance-wise, the fifth-generation Thunderbird struggled to maintain the same level of excitement. While the earlier models were known for their relatively nimble handling and powerful engines, the 1967 to 1971 Thunderbirds were sluggish and underwhelming in comparison. The car was powered by a range of V8 engines, with the most powerful being a 429 cubic inch engine. But the Thunderbird's increased weight and larger dimensions made it far less agile. The car's handling became ponderous, and it lacked the quick acceleration and nimbleness that the original Thunderbird had been known for. In place of the sporty, responsive drive that had been expected from a car with such a reputation, the Thunderbird now offered a more cushioned, uninspiring ride that was more about comfort than excitement. The car's ride quality, though smooth, was also indicative of its shift in focus toward luxury rather than performance. While some buyers appreciated the plush interiors, the car's heavy, wallowing suspension made it less enjoyable to drive. The Thunderbird had transformed from a roadster-style sports car into a cumbersome, luxury cruiser that was more suited to long-distance highway drives than spirited backroad adventures. Unfortunately, its lack of handling prowess and agility meant that it was outclassed by smaller, more agile competitors in the personal luxury market, such as the Chevrolet Corvette and the Pontiac Firebird. The interior of the fifth-generation Thunderbird was where the car's shift towards luxury became most evident. It featured lavish furnishings, including leather upholstery, power-adjustable seats, and an array of modern conveniences designed to offer comfort rather than performance. While these features made the Thunderbird appealing to buyers looking for a comfortable, feature-packed vehicle, they also served to highlight the car's drift away from its original sports car ethos. The plush interior, combined with the car's heavy build, made the Thunderbird feel more like a luxury sedan than a personal luxury coupe, alienating enthusiasts who appreciated the Thunderbird's earlier focus on performance and style. One of the primary complaints about the fifth-generation Thunderbird was its sheer size. At over 18 feet long and weighing in at nearly 4,000 pounds, the car was difficult to maneuver, especially in tight spaces. The Thunderbird had grown so large that it was challenging to navigate urban environments, and it lacked the agility of its predecessors, which had been known for their more compact, driver-friendly designs. This bloated size, while adding to the luxury experience, detracted from the sporty character that had initially made the Thunderbird a standout vehicle. Reliability also became a concern for the fifth-generation Thunderbird. While the car's luxury features were appealing, they often came at the expense of long-term dependability. Many owners reported issues with electrical components, air conditioning systems, and power windows, all of which were supposed to enhance the luxury experience, but often led to frustrating repairs and maintenance costs. These reliability problems compounded the car's image as a vehicle that was more about style than substance. Though the Thunderbird continued to sell in relatively high numbers, it failed to recapture the spark and allure of its earlier years. The car's shift towards a more luxurious and cumbersome design was viewed by many as a misstep, as it left behind the sportiness that had originally defined the Thunderbird. In hindsight, the fifth-generation Thunderbird marked the beginning of the model's decline as a performance car, as it struggled to maintain its identity in an increasingly competitive luxury vehicle market. The Chevrolet Corvair Monza Coupe, produced from 1960 to 1969, was one of Chevrolet's most ambitious attempts to create a compact, affordable car with a unique rear-engine layout. The Monza, specifically the more sporty and well-equipped model, was designed to offer a fresh alternative to the mainstream American compact car market, which was dominated by front-engine, rear-wheel drive vehicles. The Corvair's sleek design, affordable price, and unconventional engineering initially drew attention. But by the mid-1960s, it had become embroiled in a storm of controversy and had earned a reputation that would ultimately doom its legacy. One of the most significant issues that plagued the Corvair Monza Coupe was its handling. Unlike most American cars of the era, which were designed with front-engine, rear-wheel drive layouts, the Corvair featured a rear-engine, rear-wheel drive design, much like the Volkswagen Beetle. While this setup offered some benefits, such as better weight distribution and a low center of gravity, it also created a number of handling quirks that would become a major point of criticism. The rear-engine layout, combined with a relatively stiff suspension, caused the Corvair to behave unpredictably on the road, particularly at higher speeds. The car's handling was prone to oversteering, where the rear end would lose traction and slide out in sharp turns, which could make the car difficult to control for an unprepared driver. The fact that the Corvair had a tendency to become unstable in certain driving conditions raised serious safety concerns, and this would form the crux of the car's negative reputation. These handling issues were thrust into the national spotlight in 1965 with the publication of Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed. Nader, a consumer advocate, criticized the Corvair for its lack of safety features and handling problems, claiming that it was one of the most dangerous cars on the road. In his book, Nader detailed a series of accidents and crashes linked to the Corvair's unpredictable handling, particularly its tendency to flip over in certain driving conditions. Nader's accusations sparked a massive public outcry and led to widespread negative publicity for the car. His book had a lasting impact on the Corvair's reputation, and by the end of the decade, many potential buyers viewed it as a car to avoid due to its alleged safety risks. While the Corvair Monza Coupe was relatively well-priced and offered a unique driving experience, its handling issues overshadowed its other qualities. Chevrolet attempted to address some of the handling problems with the introduction of new suspension systems in later models, but by that time the damage had been done. Nader's book and the media frenzy that followed ensured that the Corvair was forever associated with safety concerns in the public's mind. Beyond its handling problems, the Corvair also suffered from other issues that tarnished its reputation. One of these was its build quality. While the Corvair was relatively affordable and offered a stylish, modern design, it often faced criticism for cheap materials and mechanical failures. Owners frequently reported problems with the car's suspension, drivetrain, and electrical systems. Additionally, the rear-engine layout, while innovative, was also more difficult and expensive to maintain than the front-engine systems that were more common in American cars at the time. The Corvair's reputation for poor reliability was compounded by its relatively limited sales success. While the car was initially marketed as a compact, affordable alternative to larger American sedans and coupes, it never truly caught on with mainstream buyers. Its unconventional rear-engine layout, while a key selling point for some, alienated other potential customers who were hesitant to adopt such an unconventional design. As the 1960s wore on, the Corvair became increasingly irrelevant in a market that was rapidly moving toward more conventional and reliable vehicles. Ultimately, the Chevrolet Corvair Monza Coupe's legacy is one of missed potential. While it was innovative in its design and offered a unique driving experience, the car's handling problems, poor reliability, and safety concerns ensured that it was never able to achieve the success that Chevrolet had hoped for. The negative publicity generated by Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed essentially sealed the Corvair's fate, and the model was discontinued after the 1969 model year. The Corvair Monza Coupe story serves as a cautionary tale of how a car's design can be overshadowed by safety and reliability concerns. Despite its stylish looks and unique engineering, the Corvair's handling issues and negative public perception led to its decline and eventual discontinuation. Today, the Corvair is remembered more for its troubled legacy than for its technical innovations. The AMC Marlin, produced from 1965 to 1967, is one of those intriguing cars that embodies the spirit of mid-60s experimentation, yet it ultimately failed to leave a lasting impact on the automotive landscape. Built by the American Motors Corporation, AMC, the Marlin was conceived as a fastback coupe that would appeal to younger buyers, offering a mix of stylish design, performance, and affordability. Unfortunately, despite its bold intentions, the Marlin's awkward proportions, mediocre performance, and lack of appeal to its target audience led to its quick demise. The ambitious design and awkward execution. One of the key aspects that set the Marlin apart from other vehicles in its class was its design. The car was based on AMC's Rambler platform, which already had a reputation for being functional and affordable. AMC's decision to convert the Rambler into a sporty coupe, however, didn't quite work as planned. The fastback roofline was intended to give the car a sleek and dynamic silhouette, but the execution left much to be desired. The rear end of the Marlin was its defining feature, its long, sloping roofline that gave it a fastback profile. Unfortunately, this design choice didn't translate well into the car's overall proportions. The rear of the Marlin appeared overly large compared to the rest of the body, making the car look unbalanced. Unlike the fluid, purposeful designs of other muscle cars and sporty coupes of the era, such as the Ford Mustang or Chevrolet Camaro, the Marlin seemed clumsy and awkward. The front end, with its rounded, almost bulbous appearance, didn't help the car's overall look, which left it with a visual disconnect between the front and rear sections. The so-called fish-inspired design, which referenced the car's round rear end, also failed to capture the imagination of potential buyers. While unique in its own right, the Marlin's design never quite reached the level of automotive art that some of its competitors achieved. Instead of being seen as a bold innovation, it was often viewed as a strange experiment that didn't hit the mark. As a result, the Marlin struggled to find an identity in the marketplace. Performance that failed to impress. Another area where the Marlin fell short was its performance. While it offered a range of engines, including a V8, the car's performance capabilities didn't live up to the expectations set by its competitors. The Marlin was heavy, and its handling left much to be desired. Unlike the Mustang, which was agile and sharp in its driving dynamics, or the Camaro, which combined style with performance, the Marlin's bulk weighed it down, both literally and figuratively. Its suspension system, while adequate for everyday driving, lacked the sporty characteristics that younger buyers were looking for. The car didn't offer the tight, responsive handling that would have made it fun to drive on winding roads or at higher speeds. Additionally, the Marlin's performance was hindered by its unrefined chassis, which failed to deliver the kind of sporty, engaging ride that had become synonymous with the muscle car market. Instead of being a thrilling ride, the Marlin felt sluggish and uninspired, which was the exact opposite of what young buyers were looking for at the time. Moreover, despite the availability of a V8 engine, the Marlin's performance never quite matched the aggressive muscle cars of the era. When compared to cars like the Ford Mustang, the Marlin's engine felt underpowered and lackluster. While the Mustang offered exciting performance paired with bold design, the Marlin's powertrain struggled to deliver the same kind of excitement. It was a car that, despite its promise, couldn't keep up with its peers in terms of performance, and that hurt its ability to appeal to performance-oriented buyers. An identity crisis. Perhaps the most critical issue with the Marlin was that it seemed to lack a clear identity. AMC's goal with the Marlin was to attract younger buyers looking for a sporty coupe at an affordable price, but the car didn't fully deliver on either front. It wasn't sporty enough to compete with established names like Ford or Chevrolet, and it wasn't affordable enough to differentiate itself from other mid-range sedans or coupes in the AMC lineup. It seemed to occupy a space between performance and practicality, but didn't excel in either category. While its fastback styling was unique, the Marlin wasn't an all-out muscle car like the Pontiac GTO or the Dodge Charger, nor was it an elegant luxury coupe like the Ford Thunderbird. Instead, it landed somewhere in between, unable to fully satisfy the expectations of either camp. For buyers who wanted a stylish, sporty ride, the Marlin was an underperforming option. And for those who sought practicality, the Marlin's somewhat awkward design and weight didn't offer enough advantages.